everybody. Welcome to the Girl to Girl podcast. I'm Beth.
Lindsay.
Girl.
Girl. Do we have some tea?
This is going to be the best first episode. It's going to really be amazing. We sure have quite the story.
We do. Beth, do you want to start?
Yeah. It's how we met. There's a big part of the story before Lindsay even comes into it. So I'm going to tell you guys all about it. All right. So let's get started. I think it was it was like the 1st of December. I remember because it was the day before my mom's birthday. Kind of funny story. I had this male friend hanging around. I knew that I could never have sex with somebody and friends with them. So I told this guy that I couldn't be friends with him anymore and that I needed space until I quit thinking about having sex with him. So that's the day I go on Facebook dating because I need someone to get me to not think about this guy, And I start swiping and I swipe across this man named John. And he looked cool. He had like curly hair, beach pictures, really chill. I think he had a picture of himself in front of weed plants, and that got me excited because who doesn't like a fellow stoner? So I don't know if he liked me or I liked him, but we ended up matching. And we briefly spoke and over the app, it was there. He was like, "You're so gorgeous and you smoke weed with the bonus." I think we exchanged maybe 5 cents and then we exchanged phone numbers. And when we exchange phone numbers, usually when I exchange phone numbers with anybody, that's when I'm like, "You can call me Beth," because my name is Elizabeth on all social media platforms. So, and then that's when he was like, "You can call me Matt. John's my middle name." And I was like, "Oh, okay. So I'm Matthew Jonathan." And his name on his Facebook dating profile was something different than he told me in text. And it ended up being his middle name was what was on his Facebook profile, or so he says. Who knows if this is true? So I ended up calling him by his name that he told me by, which is, we're just going to call him Brooklyn, or for podcast purposes, we're going to call him, I don't know. I think it's funny that we call him a clown because he really is
such a clown. Oh my God. The Brooklyn clown. Gonna probably meet several clowns along the way, but not all from Brooklyn.
So we talked for, I think that was Monday, and I was really busy that week with my mom's birthday, and I had plans that weekend. So he didn't ask me out right away. And actually, one of these days, I was like going through a really hard time. So I was just like, I don't feel like dating. Sorry. I'm not in the headspace to date right now. And he was just like, "Okay, well, I'd like to give you some seeds. Like, don't be a stranger." A couple days later, I was feeling better about everything. So I ended up reaching back out to him and I was like, "No, let's go on a date." I was just kidding. And so he was like, "Okay." And I think that it was close to the weekend. Those couple of days we were exchanging texts nonstop and just getting to know each other. And he really didn't seem all that pushy or weird or, he was pretty normal. It was just constant texting, getting to know each other. Some of the things he told me was that he came from New York, or actually it was New Jersey. He left a ex-fiance, came out here to take care of his wife because,
Well, she was his wife, so just leave that in there.
Right. We'll just have to go back to that because at that time I didn't know she was the wife. He told me that it was just his baby mama, that they were together before his ex-fiance, but he came out here to take care of her and the daughter while she went on campus. Honestly, I've heard so many sob stories in my lifetime. So that I kind of put it in the back of my head. I took it as face value. I kind of wondered if it was like a sob story. So he also told me he was a medical transporter. He drove around all day pretty much delivering pharmaceuticals and medical supplies and, things all across Colorado pretty much. I'm looking at my notes. So another thing that I wanted to touch on was that, like, in his dating profile, it was just all he said was that he was into kink. Do you remember like exactly what it said on his dating profile?
His dating profile, when I encountered him, said something about just a hopeless romantic looking for love in the plains or some shit like that.
Okay, so maybe he changed it. But it was, his profile definitely said things that I wanted. He definitely told me that he wanted a life partner. He was looking for his forever person, that he wanted to find love and this and that, and wanted to be a power couple. Basically everything that a girl wants to say. But another thing he said on it was that he was into kink. And so I kind of I'm not a prude girl. It's nothing that I don't know about, or I've not necessarily had a ton of experience, but it's not something I wouldn't try. And I basically told him that when we discussed this. I was like, it's not anything that I'm against, but I want to feel safe and secure with somebody. And he was like, well, of course, that's like the most important thing about kink in a dub-som relationship is feeling comfortable and secure. I would never ever do anything with you or put you in any kind of position until you were totally 100% comfortable and secure with me. And of course, that's what I want to hear. That's what any girl wants to hear. So, I was into it. I was like, okay, maybe this is a little bit of a Christian grade. Yeah, but I'm a big reader. I like my smut and romance novels. So like, duh. Okay, actually, let's just go to the date. So Friday rolls around and I talked to him all this day, and we didn't have plans or anything. Actually, he had to go to his daughter's recital that night. It was December 12th. I remember this because 12/12. I'm a very big numbers person. Yeah. So I remembered because it was 12/12. And he asked me if I was busy that day. And I was like, no, I'm just going to hang out. And he was like, okay, well, do you want to go out after my daughter's recital? Yeah, we can do that. Why not? So he picked the place, told me what time, and I went and met him. And what was weird too, I mean, maybe it's not that weird, but when I was driving down there, he shared his location with me. And I don't know if it's because yeah, I don't know if I ever told you this. I don't know if it's because he didn't tell me park where he was parked, or just so I could find, I don't know. But I even texted my friend and I was like, he just shared his location. I was like, that's weird. So, anyway, we ended up parking in the same parking garage, and I got there maybe like 5 minutes up. He did. We walk out of the garage, we go onto the street, and the first thing he does is grab me and pull me in to his body with his arm, like wraps his arms around, if a man pulls you and wraps his arm around yours or in yours. Yeah. And the other thing he did was pushed me from the street side onto the building side of the sidewalk.
That's actually gentlemanly. He's a trash can, everybody. Just know that. He's not a gentleman.
Yeah, I'm not used to that. And I even told him I'm not used to being taken care of, because I'm not. I've always taken care of myself. And like I said, I've been perpetually single like all of my life. And then, so yeah, after that, we decided to go to a Christmas bar. But I was so busy. So we ended up leaving there and went to another Christmas bar, and that one was closed down because of a company party. And I was like, oh, just my luck. And he was like, this is the most terrible first date ever. I remember him even saying that. And we ended up just going to McGregor Square and sitting there and grabbing a drink. And we sat right next to each other at the bar. And he was really, really, really touchy. Immediately, like holding my hand when we were walking. When we sat down, he put his hand on my legs. He immediately was just complimenting my look. I ended up wearing like tights and boots. I mean, I looked good. I know I looked good. So, but just there, I mean, he was making me feel good. I'm not gonna lie. I have not had this kind of attention in a really long time. So I was eating it, but I was also playing it off really fucking cool. I mean, at the same time, he was telling me all about how he's never home. He's always on dates. He's always going out with girls, have babies because he likes the dom sub relationship. But strictly tells me that it's just for his pleasure, that he does this just, because he wants to, and that when it comes to finding a partner, that stuff doesn't matter, pretty much. Like, it does matter, and he'll do it for the right girl, but once the right girl comes along, everyone else doesn't matter. Of course, I'm just tucking all this in the back corner of my mind, because I know guys do not do this. I'm not stupid. I wish I recognized it then and backed off, but of course I didn't, because I was feeling really good in the moment. The other thing he was doing after a while was touching my face. He hadn't even kissed me yet, and he was touching my face, which I thought was really weird too. It was invasive, very much so. I mean, we had a couple of drinks at that bar. We talked about a lot about what we wanted. One of the other first things he asked me and I was curious about was my living situation. He was like, who do you live with? Where do you live? And I was like, yeah, I live with my mom and my daughter and her boyfriend. He was like, so your mom is going with you wherever you go? And I was just kind of like, well, yeah. I mean, yeah, my dad died. She lives with me. I don't see her going anywhere else. Maybe one day in the far future, if I happen to get married and needed more space or something more would happen. But he was really intrigued by that and was just like, oh, okay, then I guess she's always going to come with us. That's when he started using those future terms. I learned recently that that's actually called future fake.
Future faking.
Yes. I had no idea. It's so funny that, these things in today's age, there's a term for everything.
Future faking.
And that's the moment he started future faking. It was immediately, literally within the first 45. So anyway, we leave that bar, we go to another bar, we sit outside and we smoke a joint outside of the bar, and then we go in and have another drink, and just, once again was just really flirty, having a good time, talking about everything, and everything then felt it was fitting. There was a connection, there's chemistry.
Mhm.
Of course, by then he had kissed me. It was just fun. I won't lie. It was one of the best dates I've had. And looking back, that sucks, actually,
Yeah.
because he did pay for most of my drinks. I will give him that. I only paid for one round. He bought the rest. So I guess that's the only fucking good thing he did for me, though. Okay, so yeah, I was playing it off that I was being really secure. I mean, I laid it out to him right away and told him that I wasn't ever going to leave with him on the first date, probably not even the second. I haven't slept with anyone in a really long time. I understand, like, that's so cool. You respect yourself, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, feeding me everything that I want to hear. But
Of course.
I laid it out, though. I was like, I'm serious about dating and finding a partner, and I just don't want to rush into that aspect of finding a relationship. And he seemed really cool about it. He was just like, I just want to get to know you. You're someone that I would really like to see a future with. I just dig your vibes. You're unique. You like to smoke. You like to grow. All of the good stuff. So then after we left that bar, we went and sat in his car and smoked some more. And while we were sitting in his car, I'll never forget this. While we were sitting in his car, his phone was connected to CarPlay, and he got a text from a baby girl, or that's what her name was. His phone was baby girl on the phone. So you have a baby girl, hon. He was like, no, she's, I just need you to know she's just for sex. That's the only reason I talked to her. He told me he met her on a sex website. And that was like all that he could never see anything more with her. And that's it. I was like, okay, whatever. Kind of rolled my eyes at that. Once again, something I tucked in the back of my head. And then he also told me a little bit more like how he has friends with a friend with benefits that like he would go and get away from like his baby mama with and go like stay at her house and do the deed. But he could never be with her either because she had a crazy lifestyle and this and that. And so I was like, okay, once again, like that's fine that you have all these other people, but you're not going to get none of this until they're gone.
Yeah.
Repeating that. I was like, I'm not down with this. Like, this isn't going to happen with me. I was like, this was fun and all, but like, and then I ended up going home and he texted me like right away. And he was like,
This was so fun.
yeah, I had the best time. One of the things that really stuck out was he was like, your laugh and your smile is so intoxicating. Like, I could get used to that for the rest of my life. And I'm just like, of course I know. So we had tentatively had made plans for the next night. And that was the other thing he told me. He was like, when I have a date like this and it goes this well, usually we're inseparable. I was like, well, that's not going to be me. Like,
Yeah.
family, I have a life, I have a job. Like, I'm used to being alone, but that was once again a red. But the next day we tentatively had plans to like go bowling or do something that it was a Saturday night, but I had gotten like zero fucking sleep. I was just really tired that day. And I woke up and I told him I was tired. So, maybe worst case we could go see a movie, but I'm tired. So I might not want to do anything. He was just like, okay, I understand. That's how you feel. Let me know how you feel later. So I ended up taking a nap and I woke up and I told him, I was like, I'm just going to chill. I'm going to go hang out with my best friend and go to her hot tub and then come home and go to bed. And he got upset. He was like, you said you didn't want to go out, but you're going to go to your best friend's house and sit in the hot tub. Isn't that considered going out? And I was like, dude, no, it's not. Like, I don't want to go out in public and I'm not going to put up with this bullshit. So if you want to see me, you can. The reason why is because he was like, there's other things I could be doing tonight.
There's other girls that want me so bad.
Yeah. And so when I was like, go hang out with your other girls, I was like, if you want to date with me, you can hit me up later this week. I was like, but I'm going to go hang out with my friend. Bye. I think that once again was something that challenged him. And he was like, I don't want to fight with you. I just don't understand why you say you don't want to go out, but then you're going out to your best friends. And I'm like, because it's not. I'm not going out. I'm going to go sit in a hot tub. But anyway, I just, once again, another thing that I stuck in the back of my head. Actually, I didn't even say that. That night, that Saturday night, after I came back from my friend's house, I ended up allowing him to come over, and he ended up smoking a joint with me at like 9:30 to like 11. And then he went home, but we just sat out in his car. He didn't come in my house or anything. I bet he went up to somebody else's house after that too. After he came over to my house that night and we smoked a joint, I ended up posting him on because of how he was talking about other girls and seeing other girls and how much he dated. I was just curious if anyone would say anything. And I've been a member of these groups for a while now. They've been around for a while. So, and I've seen a lot of, good and bad things come from them. Let's go and post him. And I did. And I got one hit, and it was just this girl who said she went on one date with him. He seemed really dark, really narcissistic, and she didn't like that he was like a dom, so she moved on. I wasn't really concerned about this because he had told me he was dating around.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is probably just one of the girls that he had already told me about. So I think I left it up for like 24 hours, and then I ended up deleting it because I wasn't getting any other hits. We talked a lot, and I mean, he told me a lot about what he needed, like as far as his needs are in a relationship. And one of them, he told me I need to have sex multiple times a day. And I'm like, well, maybe we can have sex multiple times a day if I'm like filling up to it. But that's just not normal to me. I even asked him, I was like, would you even consider yourself being a sex addict? And he was like, oh, I'm completely a sex addict, 100%. Yeah.
No, you haven't told me this part.
So yeah, so another thing I should have fucking took as a red flag, right? But I didn't. Sorry, I keep adjusting because of the sun.
It's okay.
So after that, we just kept talking and things kept getting more serious and progressing. I ended up inviting him over to come sit outside and smoke and like meet my dogs. Meet the dogs, then maybe you can come in after my mom's asleep one night. As I was saying before, I invited him over to come meet the dogs because we had kept joking. I would sneak you in the house to come cuddle after my mom went to bed because I didn't want him to meet my mom. But, I wanted cuddles in bed, of course. So I knew that was never going to be a possibility without him meeting the dogs first. So I was like, why don't you come over? We'll hang out in the backyard and we'll smoke a joint and you can meet my dogs. And he was like, okay. Well, that night ended up being really windy and cold. So I was like, well, you might as well just come in, He was like, well, yeah, I might as well just meet everybody too at this point because I want to spend all my time with you. And at this rate, I'm just like, whatever. I just want you to come inside. I want to make out. I want to cuddle. I want all the things, a girl wants. So he comes over, he meets my mom, he meets my daughter. We end up just hanging out upstairs in my room. We watched a reality dating show. God, we watched Naked Attraction on HBO. Can you believe that? I don't even know why. Like, it was the stupidest shit. Have you ever heard of that show?
No, I'm a Love Island girl.
So, Naked Attraction is this dating show where they choose the person based off looking at their private parts first. They're all naked. So, it was interesting. I know. So, and I mean, I do want to point out that this night I was so sweaty and hot and anxious. Usually I'm not that way. I've had friends and people over at I've had males over at my house, but I was never that anxious. Like it was really weird. I took 2 showers that day. I even remember taking a shower like 10 minutes before he came over because I was just sweating up a storm. I was so anxious. And the whole night he was here. And he even brought it up. I was also this way on our very first date too. Just hot and nervous, and I'm an anxious person. I can get that way. It's not unusual, but it
You just thought it was that.
usually settles down after I get to know somebody. And by the time he came over to my house, and after all that we talked, I felt like we knew each other, like at least enough not to feel so anxious. So that was just something I just thought was really weird. And just, at the time I was like, you're just getting to know him and you really like him. And it's just all the love and endorphins and everything that you're feeling that you haven't felt in a really long time. I boiled it down to that. That was just another thing to point out. So he leaves that night. All we did was kiss. We didn't even do anything sexual. He was really, really respectful. Once again, this was making me like him even more though. I was like, and I kept, mentioning it, and he's like, no, we're in no hurry, babe. It's okay. Like, sex isn't on my mind. But then I'm like, but you just told me you're a sex addict and you're telling me like, okay. So of course, like, that's probably when my intuition started really tingling, because I started to think like, this isn't right. Are you saying this because you like me really? Or is this your way
Yeah,
of
the map wasn't mapping.
right? And another
Yeah.
thing that happened that night too, when he was at my house, was that he was like, oh, I could like be myself here. Wouldn't you like $800 a month in rent and this and that?
Girl, no.
Yeah. I even think it was like one of the following days where I was like, I want you to know I have a strict boundary that like I'm not going to move in with anybody within the first year of dating them. He was like, okay, I'll see what I can do to change that. He did. He said something along those lines, and I kept, honestly, that's when the word came into my mind was, is this dude a leech?
My sister likes to call it hoeing for a home.
It's the same thing. I mean, I've heard of
He's
people
hoeing
doing
for a
this,
home.
they
Yeah.
get in relationships and they're with people because they can't be alone and they can't survive alone. And honestly, I get it, because living is so fucking expensive. It is. But you don't have to be an asshole to do it. So
No, not at all.
okay, so anyway, he leaves. He ends up coming over the next night. At this night, or at this point, we're already talking about like seeing each other on Christmas and stuff, because Christmas was like a week away. I also want to mention, when he was here that night, he was really making me fucking swoon. I was talking about my dad. I told him some story about him, and I was laughing and smiling. And he was like, I just love the way you light up when you talk about the things that you love. I'm like, who doesn't want to hear that? Especially about your father, who's been dead nearly 10 years. I just want to, I'm telling you guys these things because I need you to understand the way he was making me feel safe and secure. These were things that he was doing. And while I was talking about my dad, he would hold on to my face and look into my eyes. He truly made me feel like he cared. He was a really good fucking actor. So then,
Watching all them dating shows, girl, to get all his tips and tricks.
that's what he told me. He loves to watch dating shows. So beware, ladies. Any man that likes to watch a dating show is probably a narcissist. So it was just like little moments like that. I was even tearing up and you wiped my tear like that. Those are very intimate moments that like really was making me become super close to him. So yeah, he came over the next night, and that was the night we ended up having sex. And I will tell you right now, and I hope he fucking listens to this, and I will look straight in the fucking camera. I didn't have sex because of you. Because of you. I had sex because I wanted to. Okay? Like, I have been in a rut. I was ready to have sex. I wanted to get laid. So I had sex. And that's why I did it so soon. It literally had nothing to do with, because it's true. I was horny. I was ready. I think it's been 4 years since I had sex before him. And I mean, so we had sex that night. And like I said, it wasn't because, I mean, yes, I definitely felt like I was, being cared for, being wanted, being loved. But I was just ready. As a woman, it's been so long. I was really, really ready. So we took the plunge, we had sex, and then he asked me to be his girl. I don't know why, because I ended up having sex with him before we were exclusive anyway. And I broke my own boundary, and I understand that, and I know that, and that was my choice. But of course, I was in the moment. I was all lovey-dovey. I was like, sure, I'll be your girlfriend. Hee hee. So, but he also was like, we don't need to go tell anybody about this. And I don't know if that was just because we had plans the next day, or that he was planning to come over on Christmas, or why he said that. But I was just like, I mean, I get it. We've only been talking for like 2 weeks. Like, maybe he's just making it exclusive so that he's exclusively sleeping with me. Because at this point, he was telling me he was cutting it off with everybody else. He said he hadn't talked to anybody all week, that I was the only one on his mind, that I was the only one that was getting his attention. He told me, I was like, oh, so I'm working my way up the roster. He was like, oh no, baby, you are the roster now. So anyway, the next night it was my cousin's birthday the next weekend, and I had planned to hang out with her on that Saturday. So me and Brooklyn Clown Boy bought tickets to a Christmas bar for that Friday. And my cousin's birthday plans ended up switching to Friday instead of Saturdays. I was like, let me just go to my cousin's birthday, and then I'll meet you at the Christmas bar after her birthday. or the Christmas bar wasn't until 8 o'clock. So I had enough time to go have a drink with my cousin and hang out before meeting up. So, I get to my cousin's. I'm like dressed for the Christmas bar and everything, and I'm having a good time. And he was like, "Well, I can tell you're having a lot of fun and you want to be there. We don't have to go to the Christmas bar." I had mentioned that he could come over and pick me up from my cousin's house to go to the bar, but like, I never really mentioned like him staying and hanging out. I was like, "You can come in and meet everybody and then we'll go to the bar, like just pick me up."
Yeah.
Like, I can leave my car there. I can get it the next day. Like, that's not a problem. So he was like, "We can just hang out there." And I was like, "Okay, whatever. Yeah, you can meet my friends. I want to know what they think of this guy." Like, because at this point, I am already kind of feeling like weird, not necessarily weird, but I just had an inkling, an intuition
Something.
that
Yeah.
something was off, that nothing, it was too good to be true. That's what it was feeling like. It was too
Yeah.
good to be true. He ends up coming over to my cousin's house and he ends up meeting everybody. And I thought, which was weird, he bought a bottle of Grey Goose and he told me that he wasn't much of a drinker, right? And he bought a bottle of Grey Goose and instead of like mixing drinks, he took shots of it, Lindsay. I like thought that was weird. Yeah.
Really? You never told me this.
Yeah, like, we go to my cousin's and I thought he would, like, mix a drink, but instead of mixing a drink, he, just took, like, a couple shots. And when we left, he kinda seemed drunk when we left, but we ended up coming back to my house, and I thought he was gonna stay the night for the first time, I was, like, looking forward to that. Instead, we had sex, which once again, it wasn't that good. It was just, like, the first time. And, like, I kinda felt weird about it because at this point, he wasn't getting off and stuff, and I thought this was important to him, so I hope I'm not disappointing.
If you were worried, you were the problem.
Right, of
Because,
course, who
like,
doesn't?
we always internalize it.
Right.
But no, it's really that he's working with a pencil. Anyway, carry on.
Anyway, so we pass out, but his alarm goes off like an hour later and he wakes up and goes home. And I was like, "That's fucking weird." He was like, "Yeah, I
Yeah.
gotta get up with my daughter because baby mama has to go to work." And I'm like, "Okay. All right, bye." So he leaves. And that's when he started acting weird. He was like, he actually was supposed to go to work that day and he ended up calling in. So I was like, "Oh, well, you can come Uber Eats with me, like if you want to hang out or come hang out and watch a movie with me after I'm done Uber eating." I'm suggesting coming over and relaxing. I mean, you can still come hang out with your girlfriend even though you don't feel good. You called in to work.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He kept making up excuses that he wasn't feeling good and this and that. Whatever. We had plans the next day, which was Sunday. We had plans to go watch the Bronco game at a bar with one of my best friends and her guy. And so I was like not really worried about him coming over or seeing him that night because I'm just gonna see him the next day. So the next day he ends up working. He ends up working in the morning and then he ends up meeting me at the bar with my friends and we watched the game and play pool. It was fun. It wasn't bad. I felt like there was, nothing odd about it. But then he didn't come over for dinner, which I thought was weird because once again, I had invited him over for dinner earlier that day, or I think it was the day before. And he like kind of didn't acknowledge the text, which I kind of thought was his way of being like, "Okay, I'm just going to go to her house after the game for dinner."
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I just kind of didn't say anything. But then after the game, instead of coming to my house, he left right away and went to home again, using his daughter as an excuse. So, well, no, my baby wants to see her.
Yeah, the little girl needed to see her daddy.
Yeah. So he ended up leaving. I came home. And then that week, he was really weird, you guys. He kept blaming it on being sick. But I kept trying to ask him to come over, come see me, or, like do something with me that week. And he just kept saying he wasn't feeling good. It was his daughter. It was the week of Christmas. I didn't see him like that whole week. So whatever. I was just trying to be the cool girlfriend and play it by ear. And, I also understand that people do this. So, it's not that like I was becoming obsessive. I just noticed patterns were shifting. And then so now we're at Christmas. So we had planned for him to come over on Christmas Day to my house to watch the Bronco game. The game was that night. And like, I knew that like my family probably wouldn't be here for the game. They would probably trickled out by that point. So I wasn't like a little, concerned about him meeting my family. And if he did, it would probably only be like my brother and my sister-in-law. So, he ended up coming over I was gonna say Christmas Eve though. I was asking him if he would come see me after I got home from my aunt's house. Like, I just wanted to, cuddle, maybe have a little bit of sex, maybe like whatever. He like told me he was doing Christmas with his daughter that night so that he couldn't come over. His baby mama wanted to do it and just splurged it on him last 20 minutes. So he was gonna stay home and do Christmas. It's like, okay, well, just let me know when you're done. And he did it. He was cuddling with his daughter. So he was just gonna stay in and I'll see you tomorrow. He ends up coming over Christmas evening. He met a little bit of my family. We watched the rest of the game, have sex again, and then he left. And then the next day, we had planned to go. I was going to take him to the dealership to get his new car because he was going to get a new car. And he wasn't going to trade it in, so he needed a ride to his dealership. So conveniently, the dealership right by my house. I was like, oh, babe, I'm off tomorrow. I'll just come pick you up, and then I'll take you and we can hang out. So I went and picked him up that day, and I noticed immediately he was so like anxious and aloof. I like parked on the street of his apartment complex and I got there before he did. And he parked and then he came into my car and he was like looking around and so we leave and we go to the dealership and it takes a couple hours. He was like just acting, like I said, just aloof, like really anxious. And I boiled it down to it was just the process of buying a car. He kept telling me he had a shitty credit score and he didn't know he was going to get approved. I was like, okay, been there, done that. I get it. So then I ended up leaving like, shortly before he signs everything. He comes over to my house after he buys the car. We smoke. And then we had made plans to hang out because I was leaving that Sunday early in the morning to go to Vegas to help my friend. I was leaving at like 7 o'clock in the morning. So I probably would have seen him that Saturday. And I mean, at that point, I had asked him if he would want to take me to the airport that day. And he was like, well, I have to work Sunday. And, I know that you're not going to get sleep. I'm not going to get sleep. It's probably not a good idea. Just, plan to have someone else take you to the airport. I was like, okay, whatever. So he ended up coming over that Friday instead. And we ended up going to see a movie. And this was probably our only other date out that we had. Actually, this was the last time I even saw him, was this night.
Really?
Yeah, it was. We went and saw The Housemaid though. It was just, I don't know if you guys know what the movie's about or have seen it or the plot, but it's basically an abusive wife trying to get away from her husband. So I mean that's it. Like there's so much more to the story, but the end of the story, the plot of the story is the wife is getting abused and she's trying to get away and hiring a housemaid is her way out. And so this man ate this movie up, Lindsay. Like he was so into it. At first I was like, okay, this is kind of cute because I didn't think, taking a guy to go see like this thriller movie that's for women to be super excited about it. But oh my God, he loved it. It was funny. And I was like, yeah, this is why I'm so cautious of men. And I have this idea that men are bad is because I watch movies and read books like this. And he was like, oh yeah, but I'm not like that, babe. Like, I get it. I'd never be like that,
Babe.
so then, um, I thought he was gonna come in that night too, once again after he dropped me off, but he didn't. He ended up going home, blaming it on it being late. It was like 12:30 when he dropped me off after the movie and needing to go home to see his daughter and get sleep and go to work the next day. So he leaves, and then the next day is Saturday. I get ready to go on my trip. Don't see him. I think I talked to him most of that day. But actually, it was that day too that I was like, oh, hey, I'm going to have my house to myself for New Year's Eve. And we had already talked about spending the New Year together and rolling in the New Year together. We didn't really say what we were going to do. He had mentioned going out, and I was like, well, I'm too broke to go out, like, especially after Vegas. I don't have money to go spend, especially on New Year's Eve. It's not, going out on New Year's Eve isn't just going to a bar and spending money. You have to pay for your Uber. You have to pay. Drinks are like 100 times more expensive. It's not the same as just going out. I was like, if anything, I'm just going to invite people over to my house and we could have a fire outside and party here and have friends over. But he didn't really confirm it or deny it. Anyway, that Saturday, back to that Saturday before I left, I had told him, like, I'm going to have the house to myself. And he was like, yay, that's awesome. And I'm like, well, we definitely need to take advantage of it. And he didn't acknowledge that text at all. And I was just like, okay, I kind of just shrugged it off. I'll just talk to him about it when I get back from Vegas. So then the morning I leave really early. I get to Vegas, and I mean, nothing really happens, with him while I was out there. We were pretty communicative. But the one thing that was weird is I tried to FaceTime him that Sunday afternoon. I think it was around like 4 or 5. I figured he'd probably be done working by that point, but he didn't answer. And then he didn't text me back for like an hour. And I was like, okay, that's weird. The first time that his communication started to like dwindle, if that makes sense. Before
Well, because
that,
normally he's like on.
yeah, and he was calling me and
Yeah.
FaceTiming me. He would text me
Mhm.
back and tell me good night. But yeah, that's probably when the communication started to dwindle, was that hour. So the next day, I get back from Vegas, and I'm really tired. Me and my friend were exhausted. We were arguing with each other. We had both not gotten any sleep. It was a really long drive with his trailer. So we got home to my house at like 7 o'clock that night. I ended up going to bed at like 30. I think I went to bed so early that night. And then I didn't wake up until 9 o'clock in the morning. So I slept for like 13 hours. And I woke up and the first thing I looked at was my phone, and I had a text from Brooklyn Clown, and he's like, Jesus, are you really sleeping that long? And I like woke up and I'm like, sorry, I just woke up. Like I was really tired. I didn't get any sleep. He was like, oh, I'm sorry. And then he told me he picked up a shift on New Year's Eve. Before I could even wake up and comprehend anything, he told me that he was going to pick up a shift. And I was like, wait, no, don't do that. I thought we were going to hang out. Like, what? And I like got mad about it. And and he knew I was mad. And he was like, I'm sorry, love. I just have to work. You know that I just bought my car. And oh, yeah. And let's piggyback off of this something I didn't mention is I knew he was broke. I ended up lending him $100 before this day. Yeah, because I knew he was broke. He put down a lot for his down payment. He was in between paydays. He was going to pay me back the following Thursday, I think so, like New Year's Day, pretty much. So I gave him the $100, and he told, and that made him working on New Year's Eve a little bit more believable to me, at least. But of course, at this point, I'm already mad at him. My intuition's inkling. Communication has been dwindling. This man tells me he's always fucking out. He's never home. He always needs sex. It's like the complete opposite of what's going on. So I'm just like, whatever. Fuck. He ended up calling that night because he was like, I just wanted to give you some reassurance, babe, and I miss you. And fine, I'll try and come and see you after my shift tomorrow. I was like, oh no, that's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. I'll probably be all the way in Littleton, like at a friend's house. You're working. Like at this point, I was being bitchy and pissy, and I didn't really fucking care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck him.
Yeah. So then the next day was New Year's Eve. I ended up going just to my friend's house close to my house and having a couple of drinks. And I texted him it was like around 5:30. That was the last time I had talked to him. I had like him a picture of me, and I was just like, I miss you. And he didn't say anything back. And I was like, whatever. So then, I hadn't heard from him. And so come around, it was like 9 o'clock. I kept texting him too. I sent him the picture. I sent him, I missed you. And then I sent him a text asking how his night was about like 7:30. Usually he'll text me back, right?
Yeah.
Especially working. And I didn't hear anything from him. So I was like, okay. And then me and my friend were getting ready to leave my other friend's house. So I had texted him again, and it was like 9 o'clock at this point. And I was like, well, I hope you didn't get in a wreck or something, because I'm sassy, dude. I can get sassy as fuck when you start to piss me off. So I said that, and then me and my friend left my friend's house, came to my house, because at this point I was just like, I fucking knew he was cheating on me. There was just something inside of me that was screaming, this man is not telling the truth. I have been cheated on before. And it's the same pattern. Truly is. Just the dwindling of communications, the not wanting to see you, the making excuses, like all of the red flags were just in my gut telling me this guy was cheating on me. So we come back to my house.
Yep. The red flags were red flagging.
Hello. Okay. So
Hello.
so that is the end of our first episode. We are going to wrap it up there, and we are going to release a part 2 next week. So hang tight. We'll be with you guys next week with our part 2. It'll be released on Thursday. We'll see you then.
All right. Bye.
Thank you.